great care to analyze and carefully consider the impact of draft rules. This way you can avoid the rush to fix all of the unintended problems that were created. Thought to consider, Mr. Chairman, as we work through this process together.
Yeah, I agree. I think the input from the public, we put these proposals together carefully, but we so benefit from the public comment. We benefit from hearings like this as well, and the letters that you send us to sort through. It generally takes over a year before we finalize something, and we take these meetings with market participants seriously and consider their thoughts.
I would just note, Mr. Chairman, you've issued twice as many rule proposals in your first 2 years as the SEC chairman, 53, as chairmans Mary Jo White, 23, did, or Jay Clayton, 26, in their first 2 years, while providing 21% less time for public comments. I get the impression from personnel across the SEC that there are concerns about the high volume and the fast pace of this rulemaking. Let's try and get it right, not get it done in a hurry. With that, I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
The gentleman from Massachusetts, Mr. Lynch, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your good work, Chairman Gensler. I appreciate the energy and the talents that you've put to work on behalf of investors. My friends on the other side of the aisle seem to be bemoaning a lack of regulatory clarity, and then in the same breath they criticize the SEC's rulemaking efforts, which arguably would provide that clarity that they desire. Chair Gensler, in your testimony today, you mentioned that there have been over 130 enforcement actions brought by the SEC against crypto firms that have either engaged in marketing securities without providing the necessary disclosures or failed to submit audited financials or investor protections that would allow investors to actually make a meaningful and informed decision regarding the crypto products or the underlying business. Chair Gensler, based on current law, of those 130 cases, those 130 enforcement actions, how many have you won? How many has the SEC prevailed on?
Many of them are settlements, but those that we've taken to court, we've won on the Howey analyses, these token issues, 6 or 8 times. We've won on other matters in front of the courts as well. So we've been quite successful throughout.
Okay. Am I correct in asserting that in each of those cases went through a regulatory or legal process and or maybe even judicial appeal, and that actually there are decisions, written decisions on each of those cases, either by an administrator or by a court of law that do provide explicit guidance based on current law to other crypto and stable coin firms to provide clarity, and that actually lay out some rules of the road that should, you would think, guide other crypto firms in their actions.
You raise a very good point. Every one of them is a vote of a 5-member commission, sometimes run by Jay Clayton, sometimes I'm honored to chair, but always a 5-member commission and always with a written public document, an order, or a charging document.
And there's also a joint statement on crypto asset risks to the banking organizations. That's January 3rd, 2023, which lists 8 key risks associated with crypto assets that banks should be aware of. So there's a fair amount of guidance out there and clarity. It's just not the clarity that the crypto industry wants.
Absolutely. We've also been clear and we've been public as a 5-member commission as with regard to the custody of crypto assets, about the exchange definition in crypto assets. We put some of this also out to public comment, but I agree with you. It's not a matter of lack of clarity. I think this is a field that in the main has built up around non-compliance, and that's their business model, and they have chosen, Even though it's not the law, they've chosen to be non-compliant and not provide investors with confidence, protections, and it undermines the $100 trillion capital markets. If there's one field of finance and investors get hurt, then it's going to undermine those small businesses, and everybody else raising money in the capital markets can get hurt by this field of noncompliance.
That's great. One of the things I worry about in this area is that crypto firms offer an amalgam of services that in the traditional banking system and securities area are ring-fenced. So they do a lot of things like they have exchange function, broker-dealer functions, custodial and clearing functions, and lending functions. And we've seen commingling of investor funds. Can you talk about the risks that arise from that structure?
We separate these everywhere else. The New York Stock Exchange is not running a hedge fund trading against the people trading on that New York Stock Exchange. And here we have a field that commingles this and trades against their customers and doesn't give the proper disclosures. And we've brought a number of cases, one settled, one a litigated matter with this regard.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.